Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today we are going to study Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, verse number 6. Sanyasastu mahabahu dukkham aptum ayogataha yoga yukto munir brahma na chirena dhigachati. Translation. Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. So Krishna is giving a comparison here between two main practices, or two different points of view in spiritual life. One is lower and one is more complete or higher. It is also known as the impersonalist view and the personal or Bhagavan view. The spiritual life has these two sides, in which on one side you renounce to all material things. So anything that's material, you practice detachment. The other side of that coin is to practice attachment to God, and because God is spiritual, is pretty much the same process but from a different perspective. Now, the impersonalist is a spiritual practitioner who thinks that God is not a person. So usually that kind of practitioner will take to the renunciation path, in which renounce all material things. And such a person will, for example, say, I can't take a hot bath or live in a house. All these are material things, and no family life, nothing. So I should just go to the forest. And that path is usually very distressful because, well, there's so many anxieties one has to suffer if one takes to that extreme, that I will renounce all material things. Well, where does it end? Usually that person goes to the forest and then just eats something very simple, very extreme austerity, and their practice will be some kind of just breathing or sitting for some peace. And well, there's no relationship with God really, because God is just a light, is formless. So that is not a very easy spiritual life. It's a spiritual life that usually, well, besides that it is very boring, it will burn out the practitioner and he will just quit after a while. If you don't believe me, just go to the forest for a week and eat whatever's available there. You see how difficult. It's very, very difficult austerity. So the other side of the coin is devotional service. And Krishna says, if you do this devotional service, you can actually be happy. You don't have to suffer this distress. So what is this difference? Well, that instead of seeing that I'm going to renounce all material things, I'm going to engage material things in service of God. In India, for example, there are many cultural practices that are millenary, and they are things like deity worship, in which a person will have a little figure of God in their house. They, on the contrary, see God as a person. So there's a personal form of God, and one offers flowers, incense, or different items. And those are considered spiritual objects, although we can touch them and just as any other material object. Because they are offered to God, they become spiritual. And the same thing happens with family, house, or whatever possessions one has. They are offered to God, and that is the devotional service. It is not boring. Relationships in spiritual life, especially when it's this personal form of God, only gets sweeter and sweeter over time. In the beginning, there might be some rough spots. Even our relationship with God, well, it is broken in the beginning. So we take the first step and walk towards healing that relationship with God, and well, in the beginning is a little friction, but then as we improve, it becomes sweeter and sweeter. And then because of that very beautiful relationship, that sweetness, then spiritual practice becomes more and more relishable instead of more boring or dry. This personal approach makes spiritual life just a completely different experience. It's sustainable, always increasing, and it doesn't require this extreme distress, because we don't say, oh, I'm not going to have a house. We say, yes, I'm going to have a house, and in the house I'm going to have a very nice spiritual environment in which everything is pure and there is only devotional music playing and everyone is peaceful and things like that. And that approach is much easier, much more practical for this day and age, to sing the names of God in congregation. That is very nice, very, very beautiful spiritual practice. So another thing that Krishna mentions here is a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. Now, this is another huge difference, because an impersonalist, at most what they can achieve is just, well, health benefits and some peace and some, well, I guess awe and reverence towards God, some kind of fear that, oh, God is great, but because he has no form, one achieves things like peace and what impersonalists call a lot live in the moment and things like that, which is nice. But the advantage again of devotional service, a personal relationship with God, is that one can achieve the supreme. And without delay means that there's no post-dated check, like many religions that, oh, you should practice this religion all your life and at the end you will reach God. Well, no, that's not very nice. An actual spiritual practice means that God is already there and you already exist forever. You're a spirit soul. So you can restore that relationship in a very short time to a much better state than when someone starts, and recover this beautiful lifestyle and satisfaction within the heart of having a beautiful relationship with God. And you can actually achieve even the association of God within this lifetime without having to wait that, oh, when I die I will go to heaven. Of course, this is not something that is cheap or easy. Well, it takes a pure heart, and well, our hearts are not very pure in the beginning, so takes some effort, but it is possible, and without delay also refers to that it can be done within this lifetime, because the impersonalist, he might achieve peace and go to the forest, and even if he lasts a long time in the forest, he will have to be reborn again in the material world and do that for several lifetimes until he takes to a higher personal path, in which he can actually develop love for God. In the spiritual world, there are only persons who have this love for God as a person. There's no scope for an impersonal love of God in the spiritual world, because, well, if you have any experience with relationships any kind of sweetness or beauty is always in between two persons. You cannot say, oh, what a wonderful relationship I have with a wall or with a light or something impersonal. So that is just a huge difference. And once you realize that, yes, God is a person, I am a person, and my mother, my father, everyone in my family, they are persons. And why is it God not a person too? It's just a huge, the supreme person, the source of everything. It's not so hard to conceive. One just has to think about it. That's why Krishna says here, a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service. So if you're thoughtful, you think about these things, then you will reach the proper conclusions by hearing a spiritual teaching that's bona fide and evaluating within your heart. You should say, it's just logical. God must be a person. It can't be otherwise. So if you have any comments or questions, please visit our website, thevedicway.org. Thank you. Hare Krishna.